You found this at exactly the right moment. Not because the algorithm decided you needed it, not because you were scrolling and something caught your eye. Your nervous system sent a signal, quiet, persistent, the kind that doesn't announce itself but simply pulls. And here you are. Before anything else, I need you to do one thing, just one. Drop your shoulders right now. Actually drop them. Feel where they were holding. Feel the difference. That holding, that's what we're here about tonight. That's the first conversation your body has been trying to have with you for a very long time. Because something has been happening inside you that nobody has been able to name correctly. Your doctor has run the tests. Maybe everything came back normal. Or maybe something minor showed up that didn't fully explain how significant the experience actually feels from the inside. You've tried things. You've rested. You've changed your diet. You've done the work, the inner work, the physical work, the quiet, desperate work of someone who genuinely wants to feel better and cannot understand why better keeps feeling just slightly out of reach. And underneath all of it, underneath the fatigue and the unexplained tension and the sleep that doesn't restore you the way sleep is supposed to restore you, there has been a question. Not a loud question, a quiet one. One you almost don't let yourself finish thinking because the answer feels too big or too strange or too far outside the vocabulary you've been given to describe your own experience. The question is, why does my body feel like it's fighting something I can't see? Tonight, through this transmission from the Arcturian Federation, that question gets answered. Not with a diagnosis, not with a protocol. With the truth, the actual mechanism that has been running beneath your physical symptoms for longer than you've been aware of it. Stay with me. What moves through the next 30 minutes of your life is not content. It is calibration. And your cells, not your mind, your cells already know the difference. Let's begin with what you've been told, because the story you've been handed about your body is incomplete. And incomplete stories create confusion that lives in the fascia, in the gut lining, in the place between your shoulder blades where you carry things you were never taught to put down. You've been told that your symptoms are a malfunction, that your nervous system is dysregulated as if regulation were simply a habit you forgot to maintain, that your fatigue is either explainable by something measurable or it's psychosomatic, which in the medical vocabulary often means, we don't know, but we're placing it in your mind so we can close the file. Here's what that story missed. Your nervous system is not broken. It has been running a program, an inherited, encoded, deeply ancient program that was written long before you were born.
If this found you, it's not random. Subscribe and stay connected.
In a frequency that has nothing to do with your choices or your effort or your willingness to heal. And it has been broadcasting that program through your physical body with extraordinary fidelity. Every symptom, every tension pattern, every place where your body holds what it cannot release that is not malfunction, that is signal. Precise, intelligent, targeted signal from a system that has never once stopped trying to communicate with you. The Arcturian Council, the intelligence that works through this channel, does not observe your body as a collection of symptoms to be managed. They observe it as a multidimensional architecture. 7 subtle bodies layered within and around your physical form, an energetic DNA template that extends far beyond the double helix your biology textbook described, a soul blueprint that carries the original design of what this body was meant to feel like from the inside before the noise got in. And what they identified, watching the specific frequency band of souls who find their way to the Arcturian Federation, is this. There is a disruption in the signal between your nervous system and your soul blueprint. Not a small disruption, a structural one, a fracture in the communication channel between what your soul knows and what your physical body is able to receive. And that fracture, that single interference pattern, is the source of more unexplained physical experience than any other energetic block the Council works with. Tonight, that signal gets restored. Let me tell you what this actually feels like from the inside. Because I want you to recognize yourself here not as a patient, not as someone with a problem, but as someone whose experience finally makes complete sense. You wake up and the tiredness is already there, before the day has asked anything of you, before the first thought, before the first obligation. The rest happened, your body was horizontal for 7, 8 hours, and yet something that should have been replenished wasn't. There's a quality to the fatigue that's different from ordinary tiredness. It's deeper. It feels like it predates you somehow. Your body responds to things that others don't notice. A shift in the energy of a room. Tension between people that nobody is naming out loud. Environments that feel physically wrong to be in, not uncomfortable in a preference sense. Wrong in a way that your body registers as a kind of alert. You've probably been told you're sensitive. Probably learned to treat that as a liability rather than what it actually is. There's a pattern of tightness that lives in your body. Maybe it's in your chest. Maybe it's in your throat, something that sits there in certain conversations, certain situations, as if your body is deciding in real time whether it's safe to be fully present. Maybe it's in your gut, that place that responds before your mind does, that seems to know things your logic hasn't caught up with yet. You have periods, maybe they're happening right now, where healing plateaus, where you've done everything right, tried everything available, made real progress, and then the same pattern resurfaces, wearing a different face sometimes, expressing through a different symptom. But the same underlying frequency, the same root. That root is what this transmission reaches. The Arcturian Council is very specific about this. What they call the signal fracture, the disruption between your nervous system and your soul blueprint, does not live in your physical body alone. It lives in the interface between your physical body and your etheric body, the second subtle body that serves as the energetic template your physical form constantly takes its instructions from. When that interface is disrupted, your physical nervous system loses access to its deepest regulatory resource. It begins operating in a kind of isolation, working harder than it was designed to work, running compensatory patterns that over time express as the exact symptoms you've been carrying. This is not metaphor. The etheric body has measurable correlates in the bioelectric field that surrounds and interpenetrates your physical form. The communication between these layers happens through your vagus nerve, that long, extraordinary nerve that runs from your brainstem through your heart and deep into your gut. The primary highway of your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest response, your capacity to feel safe in your own body. When the signal fracture is present, the vagus nerve carries interference, not its own, the etheric layers, and that interference is what your body has been trying to compensate for every single day. If your breath just changed even slightly, reading that if something in your chest or your gut responded to those words before your mind decided how to feel about them, that is your body recognizing the truth of what I'm describing. That recognition is not nothing. That is the beginning of the restoration. If you feel that recognition right now, some people choose to mark this moment. In the comments, the number 444 carries the Arcturian frequency of structural foundation, the signal of a soul whose architecture is being seen and acknowledged. Not everyone will feel called to leave it, but those who do often find it anchors something in them that wants to stay anchored. Now I want to take you somewhere specific, because the signal fracture doesn't arrive from nowhere. It has a source, and the Arcturian Council was precise about this during the transmission that informed this session. The source is ancestral, not in the vague spiritual sense that gets used to mean something happened a long time ago, in the precise biological epigenetic sense that science has been quietly confirming for the last 2 decades. Your ancestors, specific people in your bloodline, in the generations that preceded you, lived through experiences of sustained threat, not temporary stress. Sustained, prolonged, embodied threat that rewired their nervous systems at the level of gene expression. Epigenetics, the science of how lived experience alters the way genes are expressed without changing the underlying DNA sequence, has established clearly that these adaptations are inherited. The nervous system calibration of someone who survived genuine sustained danger gets written into the template, passed forward, expressed in the bodies of descendants who have never experienced that original threat. but whose systems are running the same emergency protocols as if they have. Your nervous system may be operating in a chronic low-level survival state not because your life is dangerous, but because your cells carry the memory of lives that were. That is not weakness. That is fidelity. Your body has been loyal to a history it was never given permission to complete. The Arcturian Council holds the energetic correlate of this biological inheritance. In the causal body, the fifth subtle body, where soul contracts and lineage patterns are encoded, they identify what they call the ancestral signal compression, the place where the original blueprint of your nervous system's relationship with safety got overlaid with the survival frequency of your lineage. And that compression is precisely what creates the fracture in the signal between your nervous system and your soul blueprint. Your soul blueprint knows safety, knows it as a foundational frequency, not as an achievement, not as something to be earned through sufficient healing, but as a baseline, as the ground state. Your nervous system, carrying the ancestral compression, cannot receive that knowing. The signal is being interrupted before it arrives. Tonight, that interruption ends. Close your eyes if you're somewhere that allows it, or simply let your gaze soften until the world at the edges of your vision blurs gently. Let the surface beneath you hold your weight completely. You don't have to help it. You don't have to hold yourself up right now. Let the ground do what ground does. Bring your awareness to the center of your chest, not to an emotion, just to the space. The physical space behind your sternum, where breath originates and where, if you're very still, you can feel something that isn't quite a heartbeat and isn't quite a thought, something quieter than both. That is your connection point. The place where your physical nervous system and your soul blueprint have always been trying to meet. The Arcturian Federation is directing the primary frequency of this transmission into that space right now. 528 Hz, the frequency of cellular membrane restoration of DNA repair at the most fundamental level of biological instruction. This is not ambient sound. This is a targeted signal moving through the etheric layer of your body, through the interface where the signal fracture lives, carrying the specific coherence pattern your nervous system needs to remember what it was designed to feel like before the ancestral compression overlaid it. Breathe into that center. Let your belly expand on the inhale fully without holding. On the exhale, don't push anything out. Just allow. Allow the release to be its own thing, without direction from you.
This isn't for everyone, Reed. Only those ready will subscribe.
You may feel warmth spreading from the center of your chest outward. You may feel a subtle shift in your throat, a softening of something that has been guarded there. You may feel emotion that doesn't have a story attached to it. Let it move. Tears at this level are not sadness. They are the body's mechanism for releasing stored electromagnetic charge from the tissue. What moves is leaving. The Arcturian Council is working through your etheric body right now, locating the precise point of the signal fracture, dissolving the ancestral compression in your causal body, running what they call a soul blueprint coherence restoration, a recalibration of the communication channel between your nervous system and the original design of what your physical experience in this body was meant to be. If you have rose quartz nearby, place it on your chest or hold it in your hands. Rose quartz carries the heart chakra frequency at a mineral level, the vibration of the fourth energy center, the dimensional gateway between your lower anchored bodies and your upper expansive ones. It doesn't add anything foreign to your field. It reminds your heart center of its own original frequency. Let it do that work quietly while the transmission continues. For those who feel the frequency moving, who feel something physical shifting in the chest or the gut or the space between the shoulder blades, the number 777 inches, the comments carries the Arcturian completion code, the signal of a soul in the process of genuine recalibration. If this transmission is working in your body right now rather than simply being received by your mind, 777 is the marker for that. Leave it if it's true. The field recognizes the difference between information and activation. Now come back slowly. Feel your breath. Feel the weight of your body against the surface beneath you. Feel your feet actually feel them, the specific pressure of the floor or the bed or wherever you are. Come back into the physical coordinates of this moment. What just happened in that transmission sequence is not small. I want to be direct with you about that, because the tendency after a genuine shift is to minimize it, to let the rational mind step back in and categorize it as relaxation or suggestion or something that needs to be verified before it can be real. That minimization is the ancestral compression attempting to reassert itself. It's the oldest defense mechanism in your system, the one that learned to shrink experience down to what could be safely held. Notice it. Don't fight it. Just notice it the way you'd notice weather present. Real, but not the whole sky. Because something changed in that transmission, not metaphorically, at the level of the etheric template, at the level of the causal body's ancestral encoding, at the interface where your nervous system meets your soul blueprint, something shifted. The restoration is not complete in a single session. That would be like expecting one night of good sleep to fully repair years of accumulated exhaustion. But the signal that was fractured is now open. The channel that was compressed is now, for the first time in perhaps this entire lifetime, receiving. And your body will communicate this to you over the next several days, not through dramatic transformation, through quiet, specific, unmistakable signals. A place in your body that has held tension for years will release not all at once, but in layers, the way ice thaws. Sleep will begin to feel different. Not immediately, perhaps, but different in a quality that you'll recognize before you can explain it. The body's response to ordinary stress will begin to shift, not disappear, but shift. There will be moments where your nervous system, instead of moving immediately into its habitual emergency frequency, pauses first. That pause is the soul blueprint signal arriving. That pause is new. Pay attention to those moments. They are the restoration in progress. Some people mark the beginning of this integration period in the comments with 11 to 11, the dimensional gateway number, the frequency of two timelines touching, the timeline where the signal fracture persisted, and the timeline where it doesn't. If you feel yourself standing at that threshold right now, 11 to 11 is the marker for it, not as performance, as a quiet internal acknowledgement of where you actually are. There's one more thing the Arcturian Council asked me to address before this transmission completes, and it concerns something you may not have connected to your physical symptoms yet. The exhaustion you carry, the specific quality of it that predates this body, that lives deeper than any lifestyle change has been able to reach, is not only ancestral. There is a layer of it that belongs to something the Council calls the carrier weight, the specific energetic load of a soul whose frequency is substantially higher than the baseline frequency of the environment they're moving through. You feel everything, not as a preference, as an involuntary, constant, full-body reception of what surrounds you, the emotional states of people in the same room, the energetic residue of places that hold memory, the frequency of conversations that haven't been spoken out loud yet. You receive all of it, constantly, through a nervous system that was designed for precisely this level of sensitivity, but that was never given the structural support to metabolize what it receives. The result is an accumulation, a carrier weight that sits in your tissues, in your lymphatic system, in the fascia that holds the shape of everything your body has ever processed and not yet released. This is not imagination. The research on interoception, the body's ability to receive and process internal and external signals, confirms that highly sensitive individuals process environmental stimuli at a neurological depth that is genuinely different from the population average. Your body is not making things up. It is a more precise instrument than most, and precision instruments require more careful calibration. The 528 Hz restoration that moved through this transmission has addressed this layer as well. Your etheric body's reception filters the energetic architecture that governs what your system takes in, and what it allows to pass through without absorbing have been recalibrated as part of tonight's work. Over the coming days, you may notice that certain environments or interactions that previously left you depleted feel different. Not necessarily easy, but different. The carrier weight is beginning to lift. For those who feel this specifically, who recognize themselves in the description of carrying more than belongs to them, of absorbing what others don't even notice, The number 555 inches, the comments, carries the Arcturian frequency of transition, of a field moving from one state to another, of a body releasing what was never its own to hold. Leave it if it's yours. Before I close this transmission, I want to say something that isn't part of the formal council communication, something that comes from the place in this work that is simply honest. You have been patient, quietly, stubbornly, remarkably patient with a body that hasn't given you easy answers. You have kept looking when it would have been simpler to stop. You have tried things, adjusted, tried again. You have held the question open even when the answers available didn't fit. That is not nothing. That is a specific kind of courage that doesn't announce itself. The Arcturian Federation sees that. Not the version of you that performs wellness or performs healing. The version that shows up at the end of a long day and keeps the question alive even when everything is tired. That one. Tonight's transmission was prepared for that one specifically. The restoration continues beyond this session. Your field remains open. The work that began tonight will integrate across the next 72 hours in ways your body will register before your mind catches up. Rest when rest arrives. Drink more water than you think is necessary. The cellular recalibration happening in your physical body requires hydration to complete its integration. And when the quiet moments come, let them be quiet. Don't fill them. The signal between your nervous system and your soul blueprint needs silence to stabilize, the same way a newly repaired connection needs stillness before it can carry full current. Those who feel called to mark the completion of tonight's work, the 888 inches, the comments carries the Arcturian abundance frequency. Not abundance in the material sense alone. Abundance as a state of the field. The frequency of a system that is no longer spending all its resources on managing interference. That has capacity again. That has something left over. If that's what tonight feels like, the beginning of having something left over 888 is the signal for it. And if someone came to mind while you received this transmission, a specific face, a name that arrived uninvited, pay attention to that. The Arcturian Federation's transmissions move through networks. That person's field may be carrying the same signal fracture. Share this with them, not as explanation, but simply as an offering. The transmission will find what it needs to find. The council remains in session. Your file remains open. And the next transmission, the one that addresses what happens when the nervous system restoration reaches the layer of the heart chakra, and why your capacity for love and your capacity for physical well-being have always been governed by the same frequency, is already prepared for the souls who completed tonight's work. It is on your screen right now. Don't go back to the scroll. Your field is open. The next layer is ready. Let the Arcturian Federation take you there.